them all what I'm made up. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so the news coming out of Vancouver, it's undeniably heavy.
It really is just incredibly difficult news to process.
We're going to dive into the reports about the car ramming incident at the Lapu Day Festival.
Yeah, and the initial information points to just a horrific event. Significant loss of life, many people injured.
Exactly. So we're looking at what we know happened, the sort of immediate aftermath, the first responses. We're drawing from, Reuters, CTV News, statements from leaders.
Canadian leaders, Filipino leaders, even international reactions.
Right. The goal here isn't to jump to any conclusions. It's really about carefully looking at these initial sources, understanding what they're telling us right now about this situation as it unfolds, and the impact, of course.
And the location, the event itself, it just adds such a painful layer. This was a celebration, the Lapu Day block party.
In Vancouver's Sunset neighborhood.
Right. And Lapu Day itself, it's really significant. It commemorates Datu Lapu,
the Filipino hero who resisted Magellan back in the 16th century.
Precisely. A key figure in Filipino history. And for the Filipino community, especially somewhere like BC, where April 27th was officially recognized as Lapu Day, just, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2023, that recently.
It makes it a really powerful moment of cultural pride, identity, remembering history.
You can just picture it, can't you? A big street party, multiple blocks, the energy, the food.
Oh, yeah. Live music, cultural displays, traditions being shared, a real community gathering.
And then, Saturday night, around 8 p.m. local time, this vibrant scene is just shattered.
Utterly shattered. The reports describe a black SUV, maybe an Audi, driving into the crowd. Some witnesses apparently saw it driving erratically just before.
And heard an engine revving. That sounds deliberate.
Well, that's certainly what it suggests, doesn't it? A sudden, violent act.
Yeah.
And the cost. It's just staggering. At least 9 confirmed dead.
9. And more than 20 injured.
Yeah, taken to various hospitals across the city. It's almost impossible to grasp the scale of it immediately.
And in the middle of all that chaos, the response from the people actually at the festival.
That's something that really stands out in the reports, doesn't it?
Yeah. Accounts of festival goers chasing down the driver.
And actually holding him, this 30-year-old Vancouver man, until the police could get there.
In that moment of shock and trauma. To act like that.
It says so much about, their courage, maybe their sense of community, looking out for each other. It's quite remarkable.
Absolutely. There was one eyewitness account. Someone mentioned in seeing maybe 15 people just lying on the ground.
Just awful. And that quote from the food truck owner, Joseph Varde.
Haunting, wasn't it? Bodies everywhere. And saying the vehicle went straight down the middle.
You feel the rawness of that shock just in those words.
And then the official reaction started coming in pretty quickly. Prime Minister Carney.
He confirmed the injuries, acknowledged the investigation was underway.
And importantly, gave that initial assessment from police, didn't he? That it wasn't being treated as terrorism.
Right. The belief, at least initially, is that the man acted alone.
He offered condolences, of course, to the Filipino community, talked about national unity. It clearly hit hard at the highest levels.
And the fact his campaign movements were paused, that tells you something. With the election just days away.
It really does. Then you look internationally. President Marcos Jr. in the Philippines.
His statement was very powerful, saying he was shattered, offering deep sympathies.
And that line, lives lost will not be forgotten. It speaks to that connection, that deep tie between the Philippines and the diaspora.
Definitely. And King Charles, too, expressing sadness, acknowledging the festival's importance. It shows this tragedy is being recognized widely.
Also important was the statement from Filipino BC.
Ah, yes, urging people not to share graphic videos.
Which is such a crucial point in these situations. Respect for the victims, their families, avoiding re-traumatization.
Absolutely essential. And then there's the story involving Jagmeet Singh.
Right, the NDP leader. He was actually at the festival.
Yeah, apparently left just a short time before the incident happened.
Imagine that. His description, calling it horrific.
And he voiced a feeling, didn't he? That the Filipino community felt targeted, even while the investigation is still figuring out motive. That immediate feeling of vulnerability is significant.
Chilling. And all this is happening, as you mentioned, right before the federal election, Monday.
The timing is, it adds another layer. An event like this, so close to voting day, it inevitably casts a shadow, even if it's just one of collective grief and reflection.
It's a somber backdrop for a national moment.
And it forces us to remember, sadly, that Canada isn't immune to this type of violence, even if it feels less common than, say, in the U.S.
The reports brought up other incidents involving vehicles.
Exactly. The 2021 attack on the Muslim family in London, Ontario, and the van attack in Toronto back in 2018.
Different circumstances, obviously, but they highlight this vulnerability.
Right.
Attacks in public spaces using vehicles.
It's a recurring nightmare, unfortunately.
So let's try and distill this. What we know now is a terrible, tragic car ramming.
Right. At a really important cultural celebration for Vancouver's Filipino community.
Resulting in just devastating loss of life, many injuries.
A suspect, a local man, is in custody.
And the initial word from police is that this isn't being investigated as terrorism. They believe he acted alone.
But clearly the investigation has a long way to go. This story is still unfolding.
And the impact on the Filipino community in Vancouver and really right across Canada, it's immense. You see that in the grief, the messages of support.
Yeah, the solidarity pouring in from, well, seemingly everywhere. Leaders, the public. It shows the depth of the shock.
Which brings us to something really important for you, the listener, to think about. How does a community even begin to process something like this?
Especially when violence hits something so central to their identity, their joy, their cultural expression.
What does healing look like? How does a community rebuild trust and safety, particularly when it happens, against the backdrop of big national events like an election?
It's a heavy question, a sobering thought, definitely. But it feels like a really crucial one as we all try to absorb this awful news.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.